Have you ever watched a film in an IMAX screen and wondered what's the difference between IMAX and a standard showing? Or do you already know what the difference is and just want to know more about the experience? This documentary will explore what IMAX is, its format and style, and the key pieces of equipment that make an IMAX film. IMAX isn't just a big screen, it's a format. The method of filmmaking with IMAX requires a lot of pre-production, planning, and a different style of filmmaking altogether. The format of IMAX has a ratio of 1.43 to 1. This is a much taller ratio than a standard film format of 1.78 to 1. For example, for 1 meter of the screen's vertical height, the screen extends 1.7 meters horizontally.
So about these frames, alright? Each time it's exposed on one of our formats, the Ultra Panavision 70mm format, okay? It's exposed with these 5 perforations, and it's exposed at an aspect ratio, which is basically the size of the rectangle that you're watching a movie on. It's exposed at a 2.76 to 1 aspect ratio. This is one of the widest formats you'll see a film projected on. Very rare to see a film projected in this format. The other format that we shot on was the IMAX Film 15 perf format. And once you expose the image on that, you get a ratio of 1.43 to 1. So the film was shot with 2 different aspect ratios. And this is the first time ever that a film has been released combining these 2.
When a film format is applied into a ratio, the horizontal measurement comes before the vertical. Another way of describing this ratio is 16 by 9. A ratio can alter a film's tone. A larger frame can create an emotional tone for a film. Alternatively, a smaller ratio can create a serious and action-felt atmosphere. Depending on the moment, an IMAX film can change its dimensions to fit the scene. All IMAX films before 2026 were shot partially with IMAX.
IMAX, and it's an awesome way to see the film. Definitely one of the intended ways to see the film for us when we were setting up every shot. If you live close to an IMAX digital screen, you'll have 2 aspect ratios available to you. You'll have obviously the 276 Ultra Panavision format. For select sections of the film, sections of emotional intensity, musical intensity, or horror intensity, we chose to film those sequences with a bigger aspect ratio, and the film will pop out and expand for those moments. It'll be a really, really immersive way to watch the movie.
This means that the film was shot with IMAX cameras for some shots, and the rest was shot with IMAX compatible cameras. These compatible cameras are selected by IMAX for their qualities. They also allow the editor to use the footage on the giant screen. For IMAX to use such a tall aspect ratio, they first used their IMAX 70mm film. Film is a material that is used inside of a film camera to capture the footage. The most commonly used film size is 35mm. There are also films as small as 8mm. The larger the size of the film is related to the amount of resolution it will have. The measurement comes from the length of the whole film, not just the frame size. On either side of the film strip, there are small square holes called perforations. These holes are used to pull the film through the camera and later through the projector. A film can also be measured by how many perforations it uses. 4 perfs is a larger frame, whereas 2 perfs is more cropped. IMAX film is presented in a horizontal position. This means that each frame sits beside the previous and next frame. This means that the perforations are placed above and below each frame. On standard 35mm film, each frame is sat above the next frame. The large film size allows the camera to capture footage of 12K quality. This is then projected onto a large film screen, allowing the quality to not be compressed or stretched.
Fuji Group Pavilion.
世界で初めての空気の建物で16本のパイプに詰めた空気の力だけで立っています。
10階建てのビルがすっぽり入るこのドームではユニークな映像が展示されています。
IMAX first started back in 1970 with the release of Tiger Child. This was a short film only lasting 17 minutes and utilised a process called multi-image composition. This process was when multiple images were combined to create one larger image. The film was premiered at Expo 70. A 5-screen setup shaped like a cross was unveiled. All the individual screens were synchronised to project the one film. A similar example to this was a film called How the West Won, released 8 years earlier. This film used 3 cameras to capture an ultra-wide frame. Then the film was projected using 3 projectors onto a wide, curved screen. This process allowed for a 146-degree angle viewing, allowing the audience to feel immersed within the film. Fast forward to 2008, IMAX was used in its first feature-length film called The Dark Knight, directed by Christopher Nolan. This film used around 30 minutes of IMAX footage, using 2 Panavision cameras and 1 VistaVision camera. These cameras are on an authorised list by IMAX that can be converted into IMAX's screen size without a jarring contrast. Over the next few years, Christopher Nolan and a handful of other directors would use this technology partially in their films. The next milestone came in 2022's No, directed by Jordan Peele. This film used IMAX cameras both to film parts of the film, but also as a character within the film. This came from a conversation between the director and cinematographer Hoyt van Hoytema.
One of the first things I asked him was, Hoyt, forget the movies, if you had to get an image of a UFO in the sky, you had one shot, and it was for posterity, for the human race, what would you do? What would you use? And he goes, in his classic Dutch accent, Jordan, I would use an IMAX camera. And it is because the resolution is just on a whole different level.
The camera served as a tool within the story of the film. After this, in 2023, Christopher Nolan worked alongside IMAX to develop black and white 70mm film for the IMAX cameras. This was yet another milestone for IMAX. Christopher Nolan has worked with IMAX on many of his later projects, becoming somewhat of a leader for the format, allowing other directors to see the effects of the format and adapting it to their own films. The cameras previously were used for documentaries in space, underwater, and on land. These documentaries were only around 45 minutes or less and were shown in museums around the world. The first IMAX camera was called Camera Number 1 and was constructed between 1968 and 1970. This camera was the model for the IMAX Mark II camera, which was used for years after it was made, but it would take until the early 1980s before the Mark III camera would be released. This is the camera that was used for The Dark Knight, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, and The Hunger Games Catch on Fire. While the Mark IV camera was created in the late 90s to early 2000s, it wasn't used in films as it wasn't available for public use. This camera was used for films like Star Wars The Last Jedi and Tenet. To project such a large film, the IMAX projector must be quite powerful. An IMAX projector has 2 huge plates that sit behind the projector. The first plate is where the film is placed on before it is projected. It is fed through the projector and is left to rewrap itself on the second plate. An IMAX film weighs so much it has to be lifted out of a specially designed closet using a forklift. These film reels weigh around 600 pounds or 272 kilograms. The bulb that is housed inside the projector has a wattage of 15,000. Compare this to a standard projector, which is only around 500. Because of the huge amount of power, the projectors are water cooled using pipes connected into the back of the projector. With the release of Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, IMAX needed to distribute more projectors around the world to allow people to see it in its best form. Many cinemas were not interested in installing these huge bulky projectors, so IMAX developed their digital IMAX projectors. These projectors were smaller and didn't require film to project.
It's DMR, a proprietary image enhancement process that goes through every frame, so you can watch the movie with the clearest, sharpest images, just as the director intended. It's a specialized custom theater environment designed to open your field of view to an average of 70 degrees, allowing you to fully immerse yourself in the film.
They used small hard drives that were sent in the same way film reels used to be. The hard drives only required a plug-in and download system. The projector system required 2 projectors to fill the huge screen size. Later, the laser projectors were distributed, allowing for just one powerful projector to be used instead. These projectors would be licensed to cinemas from IMAX and would have their own repair and maintenance unit that would fix the machines if something went wrong. The future of IMAX films looks promising, with Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey being the first film shot entirely on IMAX 70mm cameras. The budget for this film is $250 million. Christopher Nolan has been very avid for using these cameras. He has used them for his last 6 projects. With recent improvements to the cameras, IMAX clearly wants to pursue more films. The new camera developed for The Odyssey is called Keeley. It's named after the late David Keeley, who died in early 2025. This new camera has fixed IMAX's main issue, that being the noise it generates. For the film to be pulled behind the lens at the required speed, it uses a vacuum system. This vacuum creates a very loud generator-like sound. This sound can be distracting to actors and prevent any voice lines or any diegetic audio from being captured. Previously, the audio had to be captured separately using a method called ADR, Automated Dialogue Replacement. This meant actors would have to re-record their voice lines and audio specialists would have to recapture audio. IMAX projectors are also being consistently improved. The company are working alongside big cinema chains to improve the digital IMAX projectors from the original digital design. These new projectors are called IMAX with laser system. This design uses a laser instead of a light bulb. These systems just allow for a cleaner image quality and modern technology to be used to keep the projectors' maintenance well kept. As of January 2026, they have not announced any major changes or designs for a new projector, but it is something the company are looking to pursue.